Let's talk to God. One more thing, like, subscribe and share. Come on, let's talk to God. Woo!
Hey everybody, it's Cutler here, the Let's Talk to Cutler broadcast, the Let's Talk to Cutler virtual book club, the Let's Talk to Cutler vlog, the Let's Talk to Cutler YouTube channel. I'm glad to be here another day. It's Tuesday. Is it Tuesday? What is the day? Yes, it is Tuesday. And that's why I'm here, right? That's why I'm here. That's why you're here. But it's another Tuesday, and we get to spend these next 1,800 seconds together. And I'm excited about that. I'm excited because I get to spend these 1,800 seconds with people who matter, people who encourage me, people who motivate me. And I hope it's really mutual. I hope it's reciprocated. I try to do the same thing. I hope that in some small way, I'm adding something to your life. I'm adding something to your day, because you certainly add to mine by giving me a reason and a purpose to show up, and a reason and a purpose to be here, and a reason and a purpose to make what I say matter, and to hopefully make it count. I am so thankful. Yo, it's the end of the month. It's the end of the month already, and we're moving right along. I think I want us to stop and take an inventory of this month before we go into the next, because we talk a lot in January of every year about setting goals and letting things go and not bringing unnecessary weights into the new year with us. But then do we ever really stop to see how we've done after we set all those lofty goals? Do we do a real assessment to see, how did I do? How did that work out for me? Young folk nowadays say, how's that working for you? But I want us to stop and see how are the things that we talked about really working for us? And it is my hope that in doing so, it can inspire us to really strive for better. It can motivate us to strive for better. It can challenge us to strive for better. That is always the goal. That is always the hope. So if you're stopping by this channel for the very first time and you're wondering, what is that guy talking about? What is the purpose of that platform? It is to inspire and to motivate and to challenge us to show up better tomorrow than we did today. It is to inspire us and to motivate us and to challenge us to take a look at ourselves today to see if we showed up better today than we did yesterday. Another way that I think I'm casting the purpose of why we meet is to make sure that we somehow learned how to show up our best selves, even in the worst of situations. To make sure that we show up our best selves, even in the worst of situations. And one of the things that works for me is to make sure that I don't go through the whole year and then look back to see how I've done, but I like little by little, day by day, moment by moment to see how have I done? How have I done with the time that I've been given? How have I managed my time? Have I been a good steward of my time? And I don't like to wait the entire year to look back and see how I've done. So I want to make sure that we don't do the same thing. So that's what we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about making sure that we did okay with January before we even go into December. But before I do that, y'all, I want to do a shout out to the LTTC VIPs, those who've beat me over in the chat room. I want to shout you all out and thank you all for winning and becoming the VIPs of the evening. You're all VIPs, but in particular, you all know we have this little friendly competition that takes place every Tuesday and Thursday. So I want to shout out T. Cutler, who says, good evening, LTTC. I want to shout out Lynn Gardner, who says, good afternoon, everyone. I want to shout out Annie Cutler, who says, get aboard, let's ride. And we are riding. We're going to a place that's called Better. All right, we really are. But if this is your first time, do me a favor. Give a brother a chance. Just go ahead and click on the subscription. You'll subscribe to my channel, and then click on the notification bell to let you know whenever I've gone live and whenever I've uploaded new content. But I promise you, this is all about inspiration. This is not one of those channels where you will find me harping on negativity and talking about people and beating people down. There's enough of that goes on in social media. There's enough of that goes on in mainstream media. It's not my desire or intention to do that. This is about motivation. It's about inspiration. It's about challenging us to be our best selves, even in the worst of situations. And before we go on into the month of February, I just want to see how we're doing. It's the end. It is the end of January, you all, and I just want to know how are you doing? I know a lot of people ask that question and they don't even give you the chance to respond before they take off and before they move on to something else. But that's just never been my style. That's not the kind of person that I am. And so when I say to y'all, how are you doing? I really mean that. How many of you have ever asked people, how are you? But then you walked away before they could answer. It's okay. You can tell the truth. You can be honest. You said to somebody, hey, how are you doing? But before they could respond, you walked away. Before they could answer, you walked away and you didn't even give them a chance to answer. So really your how are you or how are you doing was really just another way of saying hello. Well, whenever I ask that question, I still, maybe it's just me, but whenever I ask someone, hey, how are you? I still wait to see how the person responds. So let's do that this evening. Let's stop. Let's take a breather. Let's really assess how the first month of the year has been. Let's do what we've called it before. We've called it checking in with ourselves. So let's stop and check in with ourselves. Cutler, what do you mean by checking in with ourselves? We're going to do an assessment over the month of January and see how it went, because we don't do enough of that. We don't do enough of what, thank you, McDina. We don't do enough of what we call those frequent kind of reflections to see, how did I do? How am I doing? Did I make good choices? Did I make wise decisions? So let's stop and take a look at look at the month of January, because here we've come 31 days into the new year, you all, and let's stop and see how we did. Because perhaps outside of this platform, outside of this channel, we're really not assessing and evaluating and analyzing how we did for the past 31 days. But how did we do? Did we have any goals that we didn't meet? Did we have any deadlines that we didn't meet? Was there anything major that we wanted to happen that didn't happen? Let's just be honest here. Let's tell the truth here. And then by the same token, did we have any milestones that we did meet? Did we have any victories that we can celebrate? So we're taking an assessment of the past 31 days. And we're going to look and see, how did we do? What did we do? And how did we do? Because if the truth be told, you all, we shouldn't be spinning our wheels in mud, talking, but still doing the same thing. We should not be processing things the same way. We should become, it is my hope. And so when I say the should in art, that's not me being judgmental. That is my expressing my wish and hope and desire for all of us as a group and as a community, as a team and as a village. I hope that we've become better at setting goals. I hope that we've become better at making decisions. Some of the things that we've talked about near the end of last year and during the first 31 days of this year, I hope we've learned how to lighten our load from some of the unnecessary weights that we carried in 2022 that we carried last year. I hope we've become better at building a village, building our support group. That is my hope and my desire. I hope we've become, as individuals, more intentional about the villages that we are a part of. I hope that we've become better at extending ourselves grace, giving ourselves permissions when we didn't necessarily do that before, extending ourselves space when we didn't necessarily do that before. So those are some of my hopes in terms of the things that I hope we've done, that I hope have happened for us as individuals and as a team, as a community, as a village. But may I say this, you all? And that's the crux. That is the reason for this discussion tonight. Just in case January did not go quite like you wanted it, don't consider yourself or the month as insignificant. Don't consider yourself or the month of these past 30 days as saying, I wish that would have never happened. Why would you say that, Cutler? I can say that because I may not have made all the money I wanted, but the month was not insignificant. I may not have lost all the pounds that I wanted, but the month was not insignificant. I may not have eaten as healthy as I wanted to, but the past 31 days were not insignificant. Am I helping somebody? I may not have finished everything that I started, but what I'm not going to do is beat myself up about it. So yes, we're going to reflect and we're going to ask ourselves, we're going to check in with ourselves and say, how did I do? How were these past 31 days? And we're going to look through the lens that only we can look. But as we're looking through the lens, we're going to look at ourselves through a lens of grace, giving ourselves the space to pick ourselves up and keep on going. That's why we're talking tonight about how to keep on going, how to learn from what we call failure. We are not going to beat ourselves up. Yes, absolutely. Take a look at these past 31 days in a very transparent manner, in a very honest manner, in a very open manner, in a very truthful manner. Take a look at these past 31 days. And if it didn't go the way you didn't want it to go, guess what? It's over. So we're not going to beat ourselves up. What are we going to do, Cutler? We're going to get up, dust off, re-strategize, and keep going. Can I say that again? We're going to get up, dust off, re-strategize, and keep going. Some of us don't know how to learn from mistakes, and some of us don't know how to get back on the right track. So may I offer us some assistance with that this evening? Before you begin to beat yourself up, remember one of the key words and the themes of this year is going to be grace, extending yourself grace, the same grace that you would extend to others. We're going to learn how to extend it to ourselves. So let's talk about some strategies to help us learn from mistakes, strategies that will help us use the experiences that we call failures and help us to get back on the path to success. Cutler, what's one of the first things that you would recommend? One of the first things I recommend is, you all aren't going to believe this. Some of you are not going to be ready for this. This is when you really need to tell somebody to come on, to come on and let's talk to Cutler. Because we're going to have a very candid, very honest, and very transparent conversation. We live life sometimes try to take words and remove words from our vocabulary, but no, let's admit some things. If we're going to keep going and we're going to learn from failure, here's what we're going to do. We're going to accept the fact that failure is a part of life. We don't like that because we talk so vague and ambiguous and theoretical so many times, but accept that failure is a part of life. We've all heard that failure is not an option. Failure is not an option. We've all heard that. But can I tell you my perspective? It's not an option that we choose. So when I set out the possible options, failure is not one of the options that I choose, but it is a possibility. We're probably afraid to even say that failure is a possibility. Let's just do a reality check. Let's not live in a utopia where everything seems perfect and ideal. Failure is a possibility, even if we don't want to classify it as an option, something that we choose. So no, we don't choose failure. I get it. You're correct. We don't choose failure, but failure is a possibility. So what happens, Cutler, since failure is a possibility? Learn how to embrace your mistakes. They are just that. There's a reason we call these things mistakes, because you don't intend for them to happen. Learn how to embrace your mistakes. Accept that failure is a part of life. Don't try to hide them. Failures don't somehow work themselves out. You've got to work at failure. You've got to work at resolving them. They take time, they take energy, they take effort, they take work. So when we accept that these things are a part of life, we realize then, you know what? They aren't just going to passively work themselves out, but we've got to work them out. You all mistakes, the mistakes that we make, we've got to work on them. Sometimes people say, oh, don't worry about it. Things have a way of working out. Well, some things do have a way of working out, but there's some other things that require work of us. Because ignoring and sweeping them under the rug just makes a bigger mound in the rug for us to trip over. You don't ignore your mistakes. You don't sweep stuff under rugs. Stuff that you know you need to work on, you don't sweep it under a rug, because you create a bigger pile, a bigger mound that you can possibly trip over the next time. Ignoring things will create a deeper pit, a deeper hole for us to fall in. Don't do that. Accept the fact that failure is a part of life. We don't live in a utopia. It is a possibility. I'm not saying it's an option that you choose. It's a possibility. And once we accept that mistakes are just fundamentally a part of the human condition, you'll realize I can do something about it. When you accept it, then you can do something about it. Many of the most successful people in our time and throughout history had significant failures as well as great accomplishments. Thomas Edison, Albert Einstein, Oprah Winfrey, thank you, it's in the chat, Michael Jordan. Accept that failure is a part of life. Accept that failure is a part of life. And can I tell you another thing? If we're going to talk about really how to keep going and how to learn from failure, realize that it's okay to get upset, you all. It's okay to get upset. Now, how you handle your state of being when you're upset is a different thing. You know, whether you've hit rock bottom or whether you're just dealing with a series of obstacles, it's hard. It's hard not to become emotional. It's hard not to become frustrated. It's hard not to become upset. So what do you need to do? Let yourself feel those emotions. Learn how to sit in the space where you are emoting. And instead of trying to push your emotions to the side, find a way to release them. Stomp, scream, laugh, go for a run, go for a walk. Don't find yourself cussing at people and hitting people and attacking people and damaging your property, those sorts of things. But realize it's okay to get upset. It's okay to learn how to channel my emotions. That's just a part of the human experience. Don't try to bottle up what you feel. Don't try to bottle up your anxiety. Don't try to bottle up your resentment. Don't try to bottle up your anger. Don't do that. But allow yourself to sit in the space where you feel the emotions. And sometimes you just need to sit there and breathe. Sometimes you need to sit there and give it a sound. The sound of anger, the sound of anxiety, the sound of sadness. Say, it's okay for me to be here. I may not stay long, but it's okay for me to be here. You've got to take some time and give yourself space to channel and handle those raw emotions, or they will never disappear. And then when you've learned how to channel them, you can move. Because your emotions will cripple you. But once you channel them, y'all, then you can move. And if you're going to keep going, if you're going to learn from your failures, here's what you do. You've got to do this, y'all. You've got to learn how to reflect on the lessons. What is it that I should have learned? You've got to brutally be honest with yourself. You really do. You've got to ask yourself, what happened? What did I do? What did I do that I should not have done? What did I did not do that I should have done? What did I do that I shouldn't have done? What didn't I do that I should have done? I did it, but I shouldn't have. I didn't do it. I did it, but I shouldn't have. I didn't do it, but I should have. Right. You know, I played that back in my mind when I said it. But you have to ask yourself, you got to be honest. What happened here? Where did I go wrong? How did I go wrong? I got to learn from my failure in order to avoid an even bigger problem the next time, in order to avoid repeating the same mistake. I've got to ask myself that. What lessons do I learn from this situation? Are there any positive outcomes even in the midst of a negative situation? I promise you, every negative experience I've ever had, there was a positive outcome. There was something positive in the situation. I didn't always see it when I was going through it. Let me just be honest and say that. I didn't always see it, but sometimes on the other side of it, I look back and I said, you know what? There was a positive in the midst of that negative situation. And you've got to ask yourself, how did this negative experience, or how did this not so good experience help me to grow as an individual? Come on, y'all. Let's ask ourselves these things. We're at the end of January, and let's take a look at these past 31 days. Did everything go right? If not, ask yourselves, what did I do? What happened here? What lessons did I learn? Is there anything positive in that negative experience? Can this help me grow? And you've got to sit there in it and you've got to work with it. I told you all that failure is not just going to work itself out. Mistakes are just not going to work themselves out, but we've got to do the work. I challenge us to do the work. We like the inspiration and the motivation, but we don't always like the challenge. But I challenge us to do the work. Y'all look over the past 31 days, ask yourself, how did I do? Did I meet all of my goals? Did I even set goals? And if I didn't set goals, then shame on me. How did I do? Thank you, Cutler. 31 days have passed and I didn't even stop to do an assessment and evaluation and ask myself, how did I do? But I need to ask myself, how did I do? Because I can't model for the young people in my family. I can't model for the other members of my village to take an assessment of themselves if I don't dare take one of myself. How did I do? And asking yourself, how do you do? And you realize that there's some things that didn't happen. You didn't eat as healthy as you want. You didn't exercise as much as you want. You didn't lose the pounds that you want. You didn't make as much money as you want. You missed some deadline. If some of those things happen, here's what you do. Y'all own your own mistake. Own your own mistake. Take ownership of it and say, you know what, I did that. I can't blame that on anybody else. As children, I remember one of the things that we used to like to do is say, Ma, I didn't do it. He did it. We love to say that. No, Ma, I didn't do it. He did it. But taking responsibility for your own mistake is critical. It's important. It's urgent to show other people that, listen, I'm an accountable individual and I live with integrity. I messed up. I made the mistake and I own it. I own it. Because when you own it, it may seem counterintuitive, y'all, but when you own your own mistake and you put your mistake front and center, it will help other people build confidence in you. And not only will it build that confidence in you, you will build your village of supporters. So when you get ready to try again, you've put it all out on the table. And I'm going to give you all this one for free. Because a lot of times we don't necessarily like to say, oh, I failed. Sometimes you've got to redefine what failure means. You all were not ready for that. I know it. Sometimes you simply have got to redefine what failure looks like, what failure means. If you set out to lose 20 pounds and you only lost 10, maybe you just want to redefine and say that's not a failure. Well, but Cutler, I said I was going to lose 20 and I only lost 10. Redefine what failing looks like. Sometimes you just need to change your vocabulary, change what you call it. Say, you know what? I missed the mark. I didn't fail. I just met 50% of my goal. Sometimes you've got to reframe what failure looks like. You've got to redefine your objectives. You've got to shift your goals and consider the aspirations that you set. It gives you a chance to celebrate yourself more. It gives you a chance to give yourself the grace that you would give others. I dare say a friend of yours comes to you and said, you know what? I set the goal that I would do this by such and such date. Well, did you do it by that date? No. Well, when did you do it? 2 days later. I'm such a failure. No, what do you mean failure? You were only 2 days late. Many of us would say that to our friends and family members and people in our village. We would not allow them to beat themselves up. We would say, what's 2 days? Did 2 days change your life? No, it really didn't. Okay, so if it really didn't, stop beating yourself up. Stop considering yourself a failure. So I'm saying it to you all. Stop beating yourself up. Stop considering yourself a failure. Redefine what failure means, what failure looks like. Shift your goals. Give yourself some space. Learn how to, if it's about a milestone and a deadline, I'm going to give you all this for free. If it's about a milestone or a deadline, here's what you can do. Cast out 5 days beyond when you think you can deliver. I think I can deliver by the 15th. Set your deadline as the 20th. It's that simple. Let's redefine what failure looks like. Let's recast our goals. Let's give ourselves the grace and the space that we need and deserve. One of the things that failure would teach you is that a certain approach may not be ideal for every situation. Failure will teach you how to cast your net. Failure will teach you how to frame your perspectives. It will teach you how to make bigger challenges. It really will. Can I tell you this? No matter how often you fall, you fumble, or you fail, you're not a failure as long as you don't give up. I need to say that again for people who may just catch the replay and miss everything I've said the whole time, these 1,800 seconds. No matter how often you fall, no matter how often you fumble, no matter how often you even fail, you are not a failure as long as you don't give up. What are you saying, Cutler? Take action. Do something. Get up and keep on going. Dust yourself off. Re-strategize. I said it in the beginning. That's what we've got to do. Dust off, re-strategize, and keep right on moving. Do something. Take some sort of action that says, I'm not giving up. It's what I call the not giving up move. I'm dealing with my mistakes because I've made some. I'm facing them head on because I've made some. And I'm not giving up. I failed, but I'm not a failure. I've fallen, but I'm not a failure. I've fumbled, but I'm not a failure. I've dropped the ball, but I'm not a failure. I've missed deadlines, but I'm not a failure. I've not reached certain goals, but I'm not a come on, y'all. You've got to redefine what a failure is. And in the midst of every situation, make sure that the lessons you learned, even though they were hard-learned lessons, make sure that they keep you moving forward. Because the more you move, especially after a failure, the stronger you get. That's how I'm going to end this broadcast. The more you move, particularly after a failure, the stronger and the more resilient you get. I want to thank you all. That's how you keep moving. That's how you keep going. That's how you bounce back from failure. Never mind the old saying that says, never let them see you sweat. Listen, you can see me sweat. You can see me fall. You can see me fumble. You can see me drop the ball. You can see me miss and go. You can see me doing all of that. But what you would not see me doing is giving up. Y'all keep going. Learn from your failure. Thank you for allowing me to share these 1,800 seconds with you wherever you've allowed me to come, whether it's in your home and or on your front porch. You know, I'm from the South, your front porch or your living room, your dining room, wherever it is. Thank you for sharing this time and space with me. It is my hope, it is my desire that I've said something that will encourage you, something that will inspire you, something that will motivate you, and something that will challenge you to take a look over these past 31 days and say, you know what, I didn't necessarily do the best that I wanted to, but I'm still going to keep going. Made it to this 1 month, and I've got just a couple hours before I tip into the next month. I got 11 more to go. Thank you all so much. Let's keep building community. Let's keep maintaining connectivity. Keep your heads up. Keep your hopes up. Stay safe. Stay sane. Know that from my heart to yours, there is and always will be so much love. Tell somebody, listen, we're building a community, y'all. So tell somebody, come on, let's talk to Cutler. Thank you all so much for this time and space. Have a fantastic evening. It's Linda. Yes, it's a new month tomorrow, and we're going to forge ahead. Take care. Good night, everybody.